Let's hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots from goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some freaking money. It's time for Pocket with Jo. Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. It's time for Pocket with Jo over here on SportsGrid TV on X. We have a great day out there on the ice and such an important day for Team Canada. Team Canada needing the win to advance to the finals to take on Team USA. And you all know that is the matchup we want to see after that game we saw on Saturday night. Unbelievable how that one started. 3 fights in 9 seconds, and I don't care. If you don't like the fighting, then you don't absolutely love hockey. It was crazy out there. You saw the Kachuk brothers absolutely playing villain, and that was something they wanted to do going into that game for Team USA, really trying to rattle Canada, and that's exactly what they did. So you guys, we're going to jump into the 2 games today, with the first one kicking off pretty quick here. So make sure you stay tuned to your TV, because the USA has clinched a spot in the finals. Now they're in Boston now, and we will see Canada and Finland in the first game. Now Canada needs to win this in regulation to guarantee themselves a spot in the finals. If they can win this in regulation, it makes that game later tonight meaningless. So I do think there's a live betting opportunity depending on how this one comes out. If Canada goes into overtime with Finland and gets the win, they'll only have 4 points, because there's only 2 points allocated for an overtime win, 1 point for an overtime loss. We have Finland, Canada, and Sweden all sitting here with 2 points. Sweden's got those 2 points as the loser points, as I like to say, both in overtime losses. Canada has been able to get the overtime win versus Sweden, and then did lose in regulation to the USA. And Finland was able to get that comeback win on Saturday versus Sweden to get those 2 points. So everyone's sitting here with 2 points. It is pivotal for the team that really gets through to win in reg today. That's what it's all going to come down to. Canada and Sweden, if they both end up with the same points after today's matchups, Canada holds the head-to-head with both them and Finland, because they were able to win in overtime. So we have seen Canada with that advantage. So it will be so interesting to see what happens out here. But good morning to each and every one of you. Let's jump into these lines. I appreciate you so much. Mo, thank you so much. We had a great day in that Canada-US game. It was kind of like, I hope you guys joined me on the grid, because the more we talked about that, the more bets that came out of that game. Both teams to score, Connor McDavid, and the second period under 1.5, kind of just like went exactly how we wanted, but it just wasn't the outcome, with Canada not able to get the win. So Team USA has 6 points. They're absolutely golden. We're going to see Matthew Tkachuk out of the lineup tonight. So you're going to see Team USA not play all of their guys out there. I really doubt we get Connor Hellebuck. But first, let's get into this first game that kicks off. Canada versus Finland. I am absolutely not going to miss a second of this one. The puck will drop at 1:10 Eastern here. We have Canada as the huge favorite. Minus 430 on the money line. We got to find some value. Even that puck line minus 1.5 is minus 154. Their team total to the over, it's way too highly juiced, over 3.5. It's gross, you guys. So we're looking at Finland. If you do think Finland is being underestimated in this tournament, can come out and beat Canada, I worry about their blue line, and that's where my concern comes from. Finland, they're coming in at plus 330. Now, I do think the total is worth a look. I don't think this one stays under. I know what Canada was able to do versus Team USA. That was a tight game until it wasn't, right? You saw that empty netter. Then Team USA was able to win 3-1. But if it wasn't for that empty netter, Jordan Binnington did better than we have seen him in some games in the season, and how he's been. Everyone kept talking about how weak he looked in that game. And yes, he did allow one of those goals, was an easy goal. The second, it wasn't. So I do think Binnington is better than people expect. But in this one here, with this being do or die situation for both of these teams, I could see that third period being crazy. We could look at a third period bet over on the goals, but it will really depend on what we're seeing out of Canada in that third period, because if we're seeing them really try to defend their lead, it'll be interesting. Now they're giving us a total of 2.5, over 2.5 goals in the third period, coming in at plus 154. I do think there's every opportunity, because you will see goaltenders pulled early in this one in a do or die situation for both of these teams. So the over 2.5 in the third period, even though I normally don't bet third periods, at plus 154, I do think is worth a look in this game. Now, looking at where I'm going for everything else. So looking at the first period, I do think even though Canada should play a defensive battle, they still have the concerns with Binghamton. If you guys are talking about Binghamton being the weaker goaltender, if everyone is just in my DMs all day saying Canada's going to lose because of Binghamton, well, Finland knows that. And Finland, you've seen get off to hot starts in these games. They've been able to get those goals in the first period. So the over 1.5 in the first period, even though Canada needs to lock down defensively, I think they're going to be hungry to hit Finland right away as well. So the over 1.5 coming in at minus 128. Both teams to score in the first period, I will look at too, at plus 194. So I'm looking at a fast start in the first period, kind of that lockdown in the second there, and then those goals to come in the third as we see desperation mode out there. I do think Canada on the alt puck line laying the 2.5 goals is worth a look. That's coming in at plus 124. The problem with that is I think there could be a live betting opportunity. If Finland comes out here, gets that quick goal on Binghamton, well, then Canada's going to be in a more bettable range, right, on that puck line, because right now minus 1.5 at minus 154, I can't bet it. But if Finland scores first, that minus 154 is going to drop to maybe a minus 110, laying 1.5. And I feel more comfortable in that situation, laying the 1.5. So definitely watch if Finland can go up in this one. Now, looking at Binghamton, if it's not Binghamton, and it does look like the books are showing props on Binghamton, so he has been confirmed, they could pull him and go to Aiden Hill or Sam Montague. It makes me just think this one has to go over that total. On the other side, Kevin Lankikin did get the start in the last game for Finland, and he did a solid job, 21 to 24 stopped shots on goal. So Saros played in that first game versus Team USA. You got to wonder who they're going to go to in this one. It does look like Lankikin is being shown as the goaltender over on FanDuel. Now, looking at who could get those goals out there, we got Barkov, Rantanen, Aho, Patrick Laine for Finland. All of these guys really stepping up. Granlund as well. So I do think we could see those goals coming out of them. We know the weakest part of Finland is that blue line. So I'm going to look at Canada for those goals tonight. Cale Makar is still questionable if he will play. And it's really interesting to hear the reports on this. Hockey players never disclose what is really going on. They were marking him as illness, but we have seen Cale Makar come out and say that he wants to be right for his season with the Avs. So that leads me to believe there is a lingering injury there with Cale Makar that he just doesn't want to irritate anymore, because the Avs season means so much more for him than getting into this game tonight. So still unknown on Cale Makar, defensive player. He will hit medical today to see if he can play. Now, he's being cleared to play, but just to check on whatever is going on. Again, undisclosed what is actually happening with Cale Makar. I do think now it's in Boston. Brad Marchand is someone you want to circle here. His anytime goal, it's a long shot goal coming in at plus 410. I do think you look at the superstars here. Connor McDavid, and as a Calgary fan, it is hard to bet Connor McDavid, but we got him for that goal in that last game, and how brilliant he looked out there. We have heard these players talking about how this is just as important to them as Game 7. Canada, we believe it is our game. Team USA showed us up on Saturday. You've got to know Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby will step up in this game. Now, in that last game, we did parlay both of them for the point, and we were getting plus 109. Now, if you want to parlay them for the point in this game, it's minus 130, but I do think it has the opportunity of hitting. I looked at Sidney Crosby for the assists. That's coming in at minus 138. So you're going to have to lay more on the assists for Sid than parlaying the points together. And I do think if Sid's getting the assist, Connor McDavid is getting the goal. Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby will step up in this one. Now, Canada had a 26-game stretch without taking a loss with Sidney Crosby on the ice. That was broken on Saturday, playing for Team Canada with the leaf on his chest. Now, over those games, averaging 1.12 points per game. I do think the point is coming. I think the goal could be coming for Sid as well. If you want to look at Sidney Crosby for the anytime goal, plus 240. So Connor McDavid for the goal at plus 165. Again, you're not getting as much value as we got on Saturday night. Nathan McKinnon, definitely someone you want to look at as well. So for me, it's Sid, it's Connor McDavid, those two to really step up in tonight's must-win game. And then you would look at Brad Marchand and Nathan McKinnon. There's no denying Nathan McKinnon. Now, he is the odds-on favorite to get a goal for Team Canada tonight. He's at plus 140. So not as much value there, but it still starts with a plus, you guys. And if we're making plus money, you know I like it. So yeah, let's freaking go. Let's make some money out there on the ice. Let's go, Canada. I'm completely with you. Yeah, Brad Marchand's minutes have been decreasing, but now back in Boston, I do think we could see a little bit more playtime out of him. You think Matthews is playing with an injury? Yeah, you look at Matthew Tkachuk, sorry, and you look at, or Austin Matthews, who we're talking about, Austin Matthews and Matthew Tkachuk. I think Matthew Tkachuk wasn't good in that last game. Something didn't look right with him. He was on the bench and he was kind of shaky. He didn't want to get back into the game. You watch those guys sitting on the bench and their emotions, and Matthew Tkachuk is not a player that ever sits off a shift. So really hard to see. Hard to get up for the games and the players. Smells like coffee. Yeah, for sure. So you guys, let's jump into who else? Reinhart for the Reinhart for the anytime goal. I could see that. Josh Morrissey with the goal and Makar uncertain. Yeah, I don't blame you for taking Josh Morrissey. We know how strong he has been on the season. So my main player is Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby. I think they really step up. Then Brad Marchand and Nathan McKinnon. So do what you want with that. I do think first period over 1.5 minus 128, both teams to score at plus 192. The over 6.5. I just can't see this staying under that total. Again, trying to find some value in this. I want to live bet Canada if Finland can come out and get that first goal. Remember, they got the first goal versus the US. They also got the first goal, I believe, versus Sweden. So this is a team that has been coming out strong. Or maybe it was Zibanejad who got that first goal. So we will see in that one. For Sweden. Let's jump into the Sweden and the US game. So what happens in this morning game will determine what we see out of this afternoon game. I can promise you that. Now, Sweden is yet to record a win. They have 2 points because they lost both of their games in OT to Canada and Finland. Now, that Finland game, it was like a knife in their heart. They led that game 3-2. Mika Zibanejad came out with that beautiful goal to start that game, and it looked like they were going to be able to get the win. Sweden to win this originally was coming in at plus 420, and they were a team I was high on because of their chemistry out there on the ice. A lot of these players had played together quite a bit in tournaments before, and that's something we've seen out of Finland as well, right? Looking at these European teams, they have played a lot of time together. Now, when we look at Sweden, they've got a strong blue line, they've got strong goaltending, and they have strong forwards out there, but haven't been able to get those wins. Both of their games, they have been able to push to overtime. We saw that comeback fight versus Canada, and then versus Finland, they were ahead and couldn't hold on to that lead. Now they're facing a Team USA team that has won both of their games in regulation. They dominated over Finland, 6-1 win. That was a game that I expected Finland to be able to come out stronger to start, as a lot of these US players haven't played a lot together. Now, when we look at Team Canada, their advantage definitely is their power play. When we look at Team USA, I tell you, this speed out there on the ice, the chemistry that these guys have for limited time together is insane. They're able to lock down on the defensive side and not allow that space out there. They were completely controlling that neutral zone versus Canada, and we saw them just dominate both ends of the ice, all 3 sections versus Finland. So I do think we're going to get a strong performance out of Team USA. They would love to win every single round of this round robin going into the finals, but is it worth it for them to put up a fight for all 3 periods here? I don't think so. It's also a question mark on who the goaltender will be. Connor Hellebuck, I expect them to rest him in this matchup. And then Are we going to see Allmark turn to for Sweden? So in the last game out for Sweden, they did start Gustafsson out there. He was pulled after allowing 2 goals on 4 shots on net. We then saw Allmark step in, and I expect him to play here, back in Boston, back in his old home, and then to play Swayman against Allmark. It would be a classic matchup out there, and I do think that's what we end up seeing. So Connor Hellebuck can have the day off. Now, if they don't start Swayman here for Team USA, we could see Jake Ottinger. That is their 3rd string goaltender, which is absolutely crazy to think that this team has Connor Hellebuck, Swayman, and Jake Ottinger. So they've got such a strong goaltending group. Now, Matthew Tkachuk and Charlie McAvoy will not play tonight. So we will see Chris Kreider and Jake Sanderson playing in their places. Still, 2 really strong players out there on the ice. There is no weak players in the 4 nations. So you look at that and you look at what Team USA should be able to do. And I do think they will push this to a more offensive game. I don't see them doing that lockdown defense and getting all of those hits. When we look at them versus Canada, they laid like 34 hits on Team Canada. It's got to be a lot on your body. Canada returned what? 29, 28 hits on them. So I do think it's hard on the body to play that way. We've got great playmakers on both sides of the ice here for Sweden. I expect Sweden to go over 2.5 goals no matter what happens in the earlier matchup. So that's how I'm kind of basing this right on that earlier matchup. I think if Canada wins in reg, the US just plays a completely open game. They allow Sweden to have their way. If Canada wins in reg, I'm going to be betting Sweden, old puck line laying 1.5. Okay, so that's where I'll go because I think the U.S. just allows Sweden to get the win. They win it by 2 goals. Yes, they're playing still for pride, but they're going to have players, playing down. They're going to have their goaltenders kind of come in and out. And I think Sweden has more motivation to get the win. So no matter what happens going into this, I'll take Sweden at plus 158 to get the win. That could be in reg. That could be in overtime. I love the plus money that we're getting there out of the more determined team to record a win. Again, their 2 points are loser points. I hate those loser points, the OT loss points that you get in the NHL. It's crazy that you get these loser points. But yes, they push both of those games to overtime. So give me Sweden to look for this win. They will be so hungry. Now, if Finland beats Canada today, because Finland beat Sweden in overtime, they will hold the win. So if Finland comes out on top and then we see the US and Sweden, look for Sweden to win in reg, take Sweden automatically if Finland wins today in reg. If Canada wins, take Sweden on that alt puck line laying 1.5. That is where I'm going to go, you guys. It's going to be crazy. This has to be a betting situation after this game is over. But I do think either way, Sweden goes over 2.5 goals at minus 112. Sweden in straight up on that money line bet. Take them in reg if Finland wins today. So you guys, that is where I'm going. If you're looking for goal scorers out here for Sweden, I really do think you look at that top line. Mika Zibanejad, we saw it with the goal to open that one up. And then you've got on his right wing is William Nylander and Raquel on the left. So that's such a strong top line out there. On that third line, Jasper Bratt of the Devils, I do think he is a solid look for that anytime goal as well. So between Jasper Bratt, Forsberg on the second line, left winger there, the Preds, Elias Lindholm, and Kempe. So I would look at Nylander. We already saw Zibanejad with the goal, but could he step up again? Probably, but I'll look at Nylander and Forsberg and Jasper Bratt. Those would be my goal scorers there. For Sweden, I'm staying off Team USA. So, yeah, my favorite players. So, recap is you're going to live bet. You're going to live bet Sweden if Finland wins on the puck line, alt puck line laying 1.5. So, going into it, it's Sweden plus 158 on the money line, Sweden over 2.5 goals at minus 112. And then those playmakers are Nylander, Jasper Bratt, and Philip Forsberg for that game. For Canada versus Finland, Finland's going to come out with a vengeance. So is Canada. I expect it to be a higher scoring game. Over 1.5 goals in the first period, minus 128. Both teams to score at plus 192. Canada, alt puck line laying 2.5 at plus 124 is worth a shot. But I think if Finland goes up first, you're going to get that regular puck line. laying 1.5 at less juice. So then I will be live betting in that situation. But I don't hate the laying the 2.5. As far as goal scorers in this one, I love Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby to completely step up in this one. Parlaying them for the point -130. It's better than taking Sid for the assist. But I do think the assist and the goal are coming out of them. I wouldn't be shocked though if Sidney Crosby got the goal himself. +240 for Sid for the goal, and Connor McDavid coming in at +165. Those are my two favorite from this game to get a goal on the board. When we're looking deeper, Brad Marchand, I think, has so much value at home in Boston at +410. He's got booed every time in Montreal. And then Nathan McKinnon at +140. So you guys, it's going to be a great day out there on the ice. I really appreciate you so much for joining me here for the Four Nations breakdown. We will be here again. I probably will do, I'll do a Thursday show, but I might do a reaction show. We could just talk about what we saw and what we're going to be early looks on these lines tomorrow, because I do think we're going to see a lot of line movement between tonight when we see who is going to play and Thursday when this actual finals kicks off. So let's do a reaction show tomorrow. Let's go over everything that we're looking at early out there on the ice. And then Thursday going into that game, we can see where we can see a little bit of adjustments and where we actually should be going. So you guys, a favorite Finland player to score? I'd look at Barkov really to step up, but I love Mikko Rantanen, and I think he's such an underrated player out there. You're getting more value for Rantanen to score. So yeah, the U.S. goalies are definitely fantastic. They've got the best goaltending out there for sure. But I appreciate you guys. Thanks again for joining me here for Puck It with Jo. If you could do me a solid, hit that like button, hit that retweet button, and hit the subscribe button over on YouTube. I got a couple of Cups of Jo coming out right away. You don't want to miss out on, Lundell, Brian. I'd look at Lundell for his shots on goal as well. I think Lundell comes out nice and strong with those shots. But my Cup of Jo, I've got 2 basketball games that I'm looking at. K-State is playing tonight, so I got a player from that. And then Duke, I'm also looking at that Duke matchup. So make sure you join me, you guys. We will see you later tomorrow. Let's do another Puck It with Jo. We'll do a reaction show tomorrow. Let's go Team Canada. So best bet from both games to parlay together. Ooh, best bet. Give me Canada and give me Sweden for the win. Take Canada. How do we want to take Canada? You can't even take them in reg. Give me Canada. You can't take their team total. I don't know. So it's hard to bet Canada right now. But Canada and Sweden get the wins today. That is where I'm going. Take Sweden for sure. But I like both teams to score, or the first period over 1.5. Probably the best bet between Canada and Finland. So you guys, we'll talk later. Yeah, you can't bet Canada on the money line. It's just way too juicy. So give me over 1.5 in the first period for the best bet between Canada and Finland, and then give me in that later game, give me Sweden to get the win. So you guys are the best. Yeah, you can't bet Canada on the money line, but I'm taking Sweden on the money line. I love Sweden to be able to come out nice and strong. So they need this win. Like I said, if Finland wins, Sweden owns the head-to-head. Sweden needs a win if Finland wins in reg. So if Finland wins in reg, it's all over for Sweden. If Finland wins in overtime, Sweden, they have to win in reg to have the tie-to-tie breaker. So it's going to be a good one, you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me here on Puck It with Jo on SportsGrid TV on X. Hit so many time goal scorers.